Ever flicked on a light switch and just expected it to work? Of course, you have. We all do. We plug in our phones, our laptops, our entire lives into a system we rarely think about: the power grid. But what if I told you that this invisible giant, this lifeline of modern society, is quietly crumbling? And that its decay is not just an inconvenience, but a growing threat to our homes, our communities, and even our lives. Today, we're pulling back the curtain on a crisis hiding in plain sight: America's aging power lines. Let's start with a number that might shock you. The majority of the U.S. power grid was built in the 1950s and 60s, with a projected lifespan of just 50 years. You can do the math: we're running on borrowed time. These aren't just old wires, they're the arteries of our nation, and many are suffering from decades of neglect. Think about it like an old car. You can patch it up for a while, but eventually the rust spreads, the engine fails, and it becomes a hazard on the road. Our power grid is that car, and it's carrying the weight of a 21st century digital economy. The most visible and terrifying consequence of this decay is wildfires. You've seen the headlines, the devastating images from California, Oregon, and even Hawaii. While climate change creates hotter, drier conditions, it's often our own infrastructure that provides the spark. An old, sagging power line swaying in the wind, a worn-out transformer exploding, or a wooden pole toppling over, these are the ignition points. It's a tragic irony: the very system designed to power our lives is, in some cases, ending them. Investigations into some of the most destructive wildfires in recent history have pointed directly back to faulty electrical equipment owned by utility companies. This isn't a natural disaster, it's an infrastructural failure. But the danger isn't just fire. Think about extreme weather events, which are becoming more frequent and intense. When a hurricane, a blizzard, or a heat wave hits, our antiquated grid is the first thing to buckle. A major power outage during a summer heat wave can be deadly for the elderly and those with medical conditions. In the dead of winter, a blackout means no heat, frozen pipes, and life-threatening cold. We saw this in Texas just a few years ago, when a winter storm crippled the state's independent grid, leaving millions in the dark and cold for days. The reliability we take for granted is becoming a fragile illusion. So, who's responsible for this mess? It's a complicated picture. For decades, the focus for many utility companies has been on shareholder profits rather than long-term investment in maintenance and modernization. Upgrading the grid is incredibly expensive. We're talking trillions of dollars. It involves burying power lines underground, replacing old wooden poles with steel ones, and integrating smart grid technology that can automatically detect and isolate faults. These are massive, generational projects. And for a long time, it was easier and more profitable to simply patch up the old system to hope for the best. The problem is, hoping for the best is no longer a viable strategy. The costs of inaction, the destroyed homes, the lost lives, the crippled economies are now far outweighing the cost of the upgrades. The pressure is mounting from the public, from regulators, and even from within the industry itself. People are asking tough questions. Why weren't these lines maintained? Why weren't they buried in high-risk areas? Why are we paying our utility bills only to live in fear when the wind picks up? Now, it's not all doom and gloom. There is a path forward, and the shift has already begun. The concept of grid modernization is the new buzzword, and for good reason. This means more than just replacing old wires. It's about building a smarter, more resilient, and more flexible grid for the future. Smart grids use digital technology, like sensors and two-way communication, to monitor the flow of electricity in real time. This allows utilities to pinpoint problems instantly, often before they cause a major outage. Imagine a system that can detect a failing power line and reroute electricity around it automatically, keeping your lights on and preventing a potential fire. That's not science fiction. That's the technology that's available today. Another key part of the solution is burying power lines, a process known as undergrounding. While it's about 10 times more expensive than stringing lines on poles, the benefits are undeniable. Underground lines are protected from high winds, falling trees, ice storms, and even car accidents. They are far less likely to start wildfires. In many new housing developments, undergrounding is already the standard. The big challenge is retrofitting our existing cities and rural areas, a monumental task that will require strategic planning and massive investment. We need to prioritize the most vulnerable, high-risk areas first. And then there's the human element. We need a trained workforce to build and maintain this new grid. This is a huge opportunity to create thousands of good-paying jobs for electricians, engineers, and technicians. Federal funding through recent infrastructure bills is starting to flow, providing a critical down payment on this national project. But it's just a start. It will take sustained political will, regulatory pressure on utilities, and public demand to see this through. So, what can you do? It starts with awareness. Understand that the power flickering during a storm isn't just a minor annoyance. It's a symptom of a larger problem. Pay attention to the infrastructure in your own neighborhood. Are the wooden poles leaning? Are the wires sagging dangerously low? Report these issues to your local utility. Engage in local and state-level discussions about utility regulation and infrastructure investment. Your voice matters. When communities speak up, politicians and corporations listen. This isn't just about preventing disasters, it's about building a better future. A modernized grid is essential for the transition to renewable energy. You can't run a nation on solar and wind power using a grid designed for the era of coal. A smart grid can better manage the intermittent nature of renewables, storing energy when the sun is shining and deploying it when it's not. It's the backbone of a cleaner, more sustainable energy future. The next time you flip that switch, take a moment to think about the incredible, complex, and aging system that makes it all possible. The silent hum of electricity is the heartbeat of our modern world. It's time we gave that system the critical care it needs, not just for our convenience, but for our safety and survival. The challenge is immense, but the cost of failure is simply too high to ignore. Thanks for watching. If you found this video informative, please give it a like and subscribe to our channel for more deep dives into the issues that shape our world. We love to hear your thoughts in the comments below. Have you experienced outages or seen failing infrastructure in your area? Let's get the conversation started, stay safe, and stay informed.